Hello, and thank you for being with me again. This time I wanted to talk to you about the Good Shepherd. It's the image that Jesus used, speaking of himself, when he said, "I am the Good Shepherd, I know my own sheep, and my own know me." And it's interesting to think about who we choose as our shepherd in this life, as that the one who will guide us, who will help us to avoid pitfalls and so on, because that's the job of the shepherd, is not merely to sit and look at the sheep, but actually to guide them to better pastures and to protect them against dangers that they may face that they don't foresee. And when we consider using this example of a shepherd as an example of what we're talking about when we talk about a guide, it's interesting to note that, for example, if you were looking for a shepherd to look after sheep for you, you may have 4 different types of candidate. One may be interested in the sheep for their wool. The other may be interested in them for their meat. A third may merely be interested in whatever they're going to get paid to look after the sheep, but they don't really care about the sheep. And the fourth type would be a shepherd who is concerned about the sheep and is willing to even lay down his life to protect the sheep, which we may think is more than would be required of a shepherd. But if we knew that that was this candidate's way of approaching their task, they would certainly be the first choice, because we would know that the sheep's best interest was what this shepherd wanted. And this is the case in our own lives, that we can, when we're looking for a guide, we can find guides, people who will give us advice, people who will point things out to us, but who want something in return from us. Our wool and our meat, in other words. Or we'll find someone who merely, in order to have a certain position and the benefits that that position will bring, will look to guide us and to act as our guide and to have our support. But of course, Christ comes who needs nothing from us, and who has not only declared that he's prepared to lay down his life for his sheep, but has done so, and has done so in the most ignominious way of having been regarded as a real criminal and lost his life in that sense. And when we choose such a guide, we also can find that we're very like children in dealing with our choice of guides. Because sometimes we wouldn't choose the guide that's in our best interest because we don't like the fact that they won't always guide us where we want to go. They won't always allow us to do what we want to do. They won't always give us the answers that we want from them. And this is very often the case in choosing a guide today, that people would rather steer clear of a guide like Jesus because he doesn't always say what we want to hear. He doesn't always allow us to do what we think we would like to do. And he doesn't always just turn a blind eye when we're on the wrong path. We need then to decide what we're going to do about this dilemma. How far do we go in following this guide, and why would we need such a guide? I heard a very sad story from one of my daughters the other day, talking about the children in a preschool that her daughter attends. And the teachers were telling them that they were talking to the children and saying, if you could be something that you aren't now, what would you like to be? And a little 5-year-old girl said, I would like to be a telephone, because then my mom and dad would look at me. I'd like to be a telephone because then my mom and dad would look at me. How sad is that in our world, where parents are here actually to guide their children, but sometimes don't have the time for it. We know that life can be very hectic, but surely if you bring children into this world, your first task is to help them through life, to guide them through life. And we see that this doesn't happen. It's very understandable that it doesn't happen if we don't have any definite course or any definite guide in our own lives. Because if I don't know where I'm going, how can I guide anyone else? If I don't know what I believe is right and wrong, how can I guide anyone else in finding out what is right and wrong in their lives? And the only way that I'll really discover the solidity of this belief of mine, this route that I've chosen, is by living it and seeing how it works. And when I find that it is consistently the best thing for me, even if sometimes it doesn't feel so at the very moment of a certain occurrence, there I'll gain courage in my conviction that this is the right way to go, and it will become that much easier for me to guide others, including my children, along this path. Here too, knowing for certain that the path I'm on is the path that is necessary in this life means that when my children start to question my decisions, when my children start to question the direction I'm indicating for them, if I fold and I start not being sure if I'm doing the right thing or not, and if I change my mind and I don't stick to what I've always known to be the right thing for them, that's a very unsettling thing for a child. Because you see, even though a child may protest about the control of a parent sometimes, it's what they need, because at least if they know that the parent knows what they want and knows what they're doing, it gives them some security, even if they question that, which they must, in order for that to become their own belief. But if the parent starts to waver as soon as any questions are asked, then not even the parent is a source of security for the child. And so the child is left without any definite direction in their lives. This is very important for anyone that we seek to help in our life, that they can know that we know what we want and what we believe, and that we are true to that, and that in staying true to that, they can have that as their rock while they look around to try other things even perhaps, but to know that there's always this soundness that they can come back to. And this is the calling of a Christian, to know Christ well enough, to have gone deep enough into their own Christian life, their own spiritual life, to know that this guide is the guide that always has our best interests at heart. And in following them, we can give good advice and good direction to those that we are hoping to guide through this life. And so I hope that even these talks and other input that you have in your life can help you to find a definite path in your life, a path that you can use as a basis for your decisions, a path that you can use to guide you through the happy and the not so happy times of this life. And that in staying true to that path, you will find great solace, great joy, because Jesus did say, I have come so that you may have life and you may have it to the full. I want my joy to be with you and your joy to be complete. And this is really what we all want in life. And may God bless you. Thank you.